Well, good morning, and welcome to another edition of eTown Live. This is Eric Witherspoon, Superintendent of ETHS. I'm joined by Dr. Marcus Campbell, the Assistant Superintendent and Principal of ETHS, and we're here with you on Friday morning, October the 2nd, the end of the 7th week of this school year. Yes, can you imagine? I know that we're feeling some change in the weather, and I know that we're kind of getting the sense that fall is arriving, but still, at least in my estimation, and Marcus, I don't know if you're having the same feeling, it's still a little hard to believe that we've already had 7 weeks and 7 successful weeks of this school year.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that in some ways, but I feel every bit of the 7 weeks of school because it's been such a task and a challenge. But as you said, we've had 7 successful weeks. I feel as if, like a duck, how the duck goes on the water very smoothly, but beneath the water it's just paddling really fast. And I think that's been the metaphor for ETHS, for our staff, for sure, for all the adults and the kids that work in here. Things have been smooth, relatively smooth on the surface, but underneath we're just pedaling away. We've certainly had our challenges, but we're just pedaling away.
Well, that just simply reminds me that we really owe a huge shout out to our teachers, to all the staff and administrators here at ETHS, and to all the students and families who are really working hard to make this school year successful. Of course, we are on remote learning, and it is very, very different. I would be the first to acknowledge that, but it certainly is not substandard. It is a different way of learning and a different way of having school. And I know that everybody has putting so much into this. That metaphor is so true. Even if it looks like we're gliding along smoothly in the water, everybody is pedaling and paddling as fast as we can possibly do. There have been a lot of decisions. There have been a lot of things to encounter and decide how we're going to do them in this environment. We are, and I want to remind everybody, we are in the midst of a deadly virus. I know we start to habituate. I know we start to get used to this, and we start to think, well, gee, why aren't we just back in school? But the fact is, please just follow the science, follow the statistics, follow what is predicted this fall, and we're already seeing exploding as close as Wisconsin, just a few miles up the road. Be reminded, we are in the midst of a deadly virus, but everybody is trying to make the adjustments and make the changes and do the things that'll make this successful. I actually think we're doing a lot of things better than we've ever done them before. And I know that's quite a comment, because I know there are a lot of trade-offs, but we've learned a lot, and we've been able to actually take advantage of the changes and do some things in a way that is better than we've ever been able to do them before. One thing to remember is this: we have not abandoned our goals. Our goals of equity and well-being are driving every decision we make in this school district. And that's why you're seeing, we've got coming up next week the National Honor Society induction. We've got students participating in all sorts of out-of-season conditioning and sports workouts. We have students involved in the Evastonian and in their clubs and their activities. We are offering all sorts of professional development for our staff. We are making sure that all the things that we would have had in the past, including the Friday song, are still part of our lives and our spirit at ETHS. But this issue of well-being is a big one. And Marcus, would you like to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure, yeah, Eric, I'd like to talk about that. And I'd also like to say that, Eric, I'm really proud of us. I'm proud of ETHS. I'm proud of our staff, our students, and our community for really taking this virus seriously. Eric and I receive lots of support, and our staff are just continuing to work really hard. They're continuing to think out of the box. They're continuing to be creative. And I've been on with several classes this week, and our kids are figuring it out. And I know that they, want to be together, but they understand the circumstance. And so I'm really just proud of the efforts and our collective spirit around this. As Dr. Witherspoon just mentioned, we're still in a deadly pandemic. And but I'm also happy to be surrounded by such like-minded people who will follow the science and who will extend grace and patience and know that we are still navigating through some very difficult times. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had an opportunity to just reflect on where we are in our hearts and in our spirits as it relates to not being together, as it relates to the very charged and hostile political environment that we're in, the racially charged hostile political environment that we're in. There's just so much happening right now. And our staff, we're human beings. The adults that work at this school, we're human beings too. And we bring all of that to work every day. Our teachers are bringing all of that to the screens every day. And our students are bringing that to the screens every day. So we had a longtime partner, Calvin Terrell, who has just been an amazing person for us to work with. He usually hosts our ceremony with our freshman kids and getting them to recognize their own humanity and recognize the humanity of their peers and their colleagues. And I've never seen a single one person stand before 950 freshmen for over 4 hours and have them captivated the entire time, every single minute. And when they're leaving, they're crying and they're hugging and they're going home and they're hugging their families and their guardians and their friends and they're apologizing. It's a miraculous thing to see. So we spent some time with Calvin as a staff, and he reminded us of a few lessons. And that was one, that we would not become the monsters that we see. This virus, the uncertainty and the anxiety around this virus, there are a lot of monsters walking around out there. And we were just reminded not to become that, and not to respond and be monsters that we're trying to fight and the monsters that we see. But we want to share a little bit of some additional content that Calvin shared with us to bring about our collective humanity, to sit with our grief, because there's a lot of it, to sit with our pain, to sit with our frustration, but also to sit with hope, to be inspired, and to really rely on the goodwill and the good nature of others as we are going through this together. So here's a little bit of Calvin Terrell.
When we get really honest about what whispers in our heart when we're silent, and we learn to channel that, when we learn to use that constructively, what we become is not a human doing. Not a human doing justice, not a human doing help. We become a human being honest, being truthful, being forthright, being steadfast, being real. And it can happen, but it's going to take modeling. The word vulnerability, I really don't use that one a lot. I like what Brene Brown has been saying with that. But what it really is courage. The ultimate vulnerability is believing that we are not vulnerable. That's an arrogance. We all can be compromised. We all have struggles. We all have weaknesses. We all have things that maybe we've done or been done to us. We have something. We all have our Achilles heel, if you will. The ultimate vulnerability is believing that we are not vulnerable. It takes way more courage to lean in to our vulnerabilities, to let ourselves be transparent and true, to drop the veneer that we're an adult. I'm still trying to figure out what it means to be an adult, right? And I got these kids I'm taking care of. I got these bills to pay. I got these taxes. I got all this stuff around me, but they're still inside of me is this inner boy that gets scared, that worry, that gets angry, that gets jealous, that gets lustful, that gets envious, that gets greedy, that gets lazy. The power is in that inner child and the pain, reconciling those things and learning to use that to better the world.
So Calvin's words were especially needed as we've just learned of a loss of one of our students, Arturo Munoz. And this loss came after so many other losses that we've experienced as a staff. And so it has taken a tremendous amount of courage to get through this, another difficult loss. Our students were grieving, staff were grieving. We were all reflecting on how funny and what a good person Arturo was. And we also needed that time to have the courage, right, to keep moving forward. As Dr. Witherspoon mentioned, we are still moving forward. We're still having National Honor Society ceremonies. We're going to still do Student of the Month. We had 37 students who were nominated for Student of the Month. And so we're moving forward, although we're navigating a very, very, very difficult time. And that's another thing that makes me proud of ETHS. Eric?
Well, yes, you said it so well, Marcus. The professional development opportunity with Calvin Terrell was really inspiring. And we know that we need to care and nurture for one another here within the school, but we also know that we need to be caring and nurturing for one another outside of the walls of the school. And a couple of weeks from now, our students and their families are going to have an opportunity to engage in a virtual event with Calvin Terrell. And so we hope you'll take advantage of that. There'll be much more information coming out, of course, and the way to connect to that. But if you feel at all that you or your family just needs that extra care and those extra hugs, I would encourage you to take advantage of that virtual event with Calvin. We also have other things going on. We have a virtual calming room that's available as well to our staff and to our students and families. So you can go to our website and check that out. But it's really a very good, again, opportunity to just look out for the well-being of yourself, your family, and those around you. And we encourage you to do that. One of the things that I think is really important is to know that we understand the relationship between academics and personal well-being. We understand the relationship between learning and being in a safe space where you really do feel cared for and nurtured. And so we don't see them as separate. We see it all as part of what makes this high school so successful. Why we create this environment where we are accepting, where we are encouraging, where we are looking out for one another, and where we are actually creating safe space for one another so that we can challenge ourselves to do the very best with everything that ETHS has to offer. And I'll repeat something I referenced a little bit ago. E-learning is not substandard. We are offering our best. That doesn't mean there aren't trade-offs. And that doesn't mean that there aren't everything that is different. But it doesn't by any means suggest that we can't offer our best. So when we think about academics, scholarship, learning that takes place in the classroom, it is tied to the well-being of all the human beings, the teachers, the support staff, the administrators, the parents, and the students. And when we combine that, as we're doing at ETHS, what we're finding out is we can do this. And we are learning so much and applying that new learning every single day. Marcus?
Thanks, Eric. Yes, family involvement and community resources continue to be important. We just had our first ever virtual fall conferences on October 1st. We know that this presented some challenges, but we appreciate everyone's patience and understanding as both teachers and parents navigate these unprecedented times. We know that you want to spend time with us. We want to spend time with you. We know that you want to get to know your students, teachers, and just have the ins and outs of the curriculum, especially during this time. we're just so limited with the amount of the screen and the technology and all of that. So, we just can't do the things that we normally would, and we're just asking for your continued patience and some grace as we navigate these unprecedented times. I want to thank you for that patience. I want to thank you for your understanding. Some of you I spoke to via email, a few of you over the phone, but really thank you for that. It's not just that easy to add another day for conferences. We have a required number of school days, and changes to the calendar can be more chaotic for more people. So as I said, many of you were able to schedule some time with teachers during office hours, and others of you have communicated with teachers via email. Thank you, and thank you to the teachers who have gone just above and beyond to communicate with families, because they do know how important it is, but we're just very limited right now, and we're asking for your patience. And so I'm going to turn this back over to Dr. Witherspoon, but I just would like to say, let's just hang in there. Let's just keep with it. And let's keep working hard, and we're going to get through this together.
Thank you, Marcus. And I'll just remind students that today is a remote learning day. So you are at the beginning of a 3-day weekend. I hope that you're going to just take advantage of it and celebrate life and find ways to do the things that you enjoy doing, but doing them in a very safe way. Please remember, students, wear your masks. Wear your masks. Teenagers, research shows, just more came out within the last week that teenagers are highly susceptible to this virus, and they are among the group that can readily transmit the virus to others. So when you wear your mask, you're not only protecting yourself, but very importantly, you're protecting everybody else around you. And not just the people in proximity at that moment, but by not becoming infected, you're not going to take it home. And you're not going to take it to your family and possibly to grandparents, whomever it may be, because you did what I think is the simplest request of all: wear a mask and social distance, so that you can make sure that we continue to have the really good results we're seeing in Evanston. The infection rate is down in Evanston, and we're really fortunate. We know that could change on a dime. So I just encourage you, while you enjoy the 3-day weekend, take all precautions. Let's keep one another safe. We are wild kids, and we know the importance of family. It's a great day to be a wild kid.